don't let people like shame you and utilize your past experiences against you. Okay, like don't let them convince you that you're not worthy of this evolution and this glow up, this transformation that you're experiencing because of some of the attributes or circumstances you found yourself in when you didn't know exactly who you were. The whole world is a stage and earth is a school. So until you learn the appropriate tools mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially, until you learn all of the appropriate tools, you're going to make some mistakes. Okay. Like you're going to have to course correct at times, and you're going to have to revisit certain circumstances or situations in order to amend your ways. But a lot of it is so you can evolve and get the guidance and wisdom that you need. It isn't to prove anything to anyone else. So when I rose today, I was thinking about just being like a teenage mother, right? And my youngest son just turned 19 and my eldest son will be 26 in November. And I was just sitting here thinking about like, so many people counted me out when I initially had my daughter. She's 27. I was 15 going on 16. And you know how many people were like, yeah, you're never going to like make it out of here. You're never going to amount to the things that you are trying to envision. You're not going to be able to accomplish it because now you have a kid, right? And I spent a lot of my life trying to prove them wrong. I'll show you, how dare you say, and then trying to prove them wrong. And a lot of it came from like familiar energy, right? But I realized in those attributes, in those circumstances, in those situations, what I ended up doing was proving to myself what I was capable of doing. I turned other people's doubts, criticism, naysaying into strengths, right? I turned that inability and limitation based upon other people's concepts into unlimited potential. So there are things that you've done in the past, right, that you may not necessarily be proud of, right? So we're in Leo season and we've been talking about pride, 222 on the dial, okay? We've been talking about being proud, we've been talking about ego, and we've been talking about pride, right? Now, pride in regards to a lion is going to be the family, and being proud is usually going to be very accomplished energy, right? But that ego, when we etch God out, right? So our ego is not a deterrent or a negative thing. It's what gets us dressed in the day, right? It's what keeps us finding levels of, keeping our immune system up and clothing ourselves, right? Like it's the avatar vessel that we utilize in order to carry our spiritual essence. Okay. So there's nothing wrong with having an ego, but when we remove the divine component of the creator's source, right? When we start to forget that we are all divinity in physical form, that's when we become prideful, right? When we start putting all of the ego onto others, we then take away their ability to shine. Why? Because we don't necessarily know what is written in their timeline and their Akashic, what's written in their divine planning, right? We only see it with the human eye. There's a lot of things that you did prior to getting into this current space that needed to occur. Why? So you could clear up some of that disdain or anguish or unfavorable characteristics in your generational and ancestral lineage, right? So I became a teenage mother, but my parents were, they were, but my children were not, is what I was getting ready to say, is that I didn't replicate that. They didn't continue that. Right? I was able to relinquish that level of tether. Leather? Oh, I need a new leather belt though. These new pants that I just got. Okay, nonetheless, right? I was able to relinquish that tether. So my children did not replicate that cycle. I'm grateful that I was able to go through it so they now don't have to go through it. There's things that occurred that while others may not have saw it to be the way that they wanted you to experience this life, it's exactly what you needed. So don't let anybody hold what you were against who you are now. All those levels were necessary in order for you to navigate this earth landscape. All of those experiences need to be occurred. Why? Because the other component is that we are all one. That conscious creation, that conscious collective, that co-creating energy, the divine knew what they was doing when they made you, okay? Like, they knew what you were capable of doing. You didn't know, and now you are feeling that energy so you can soar. Step into all of that power, okay? Step into all of that confidence. Moreover, utilize those obstacles and those tribulations that you overcame as a blueprint of your competency. You were capable of achieving what others did not think that you were able to do, okay? They spoke it over you. They literally were in those doubtful spaces, but you brought yourself out of those dark places, okay? So you know that you were able to achieve anything that you set your vision on. Don't let nobody else talk that out of you.